So let's talk about the three fatal errors of an accusatory interview versus a narrative-based interview. This is tip number 29 of 101 tips for interviewers and interrogators. I'm your host, Stan Walters. Welcome back. Tip number 29. For some time you've heard me talk about the distinction between a narrative interview versus an accusatory interview. In this episode I want to talk about the three fatal errors that accompany an accusatory interview. First of all, an accusatory interview, you recover less information. Typically what characterizes an accusatory interview is the interviewer asking a large amount of questions from the beginning. Now, these questions can be who, what, where, how, when, and why. What should happen if somebody did something like this? Was the first time it happened before? Things like that, which means you've already got your mind made up as the interviewer. You already have fallen into a problem of confirmation bias, or what we call preconception assassin, because you're about ready to assassinate the interview itself. So an accusatory interview, the interviewer tends to want to dominate all the conversation. The assumption of the philosophy going into an accusatory interview is that subjects do not want to talk, that they all plan to lie, that they all withhold information. Unfortunately, that philosophy has been proven multiple times in applied studies as being wrong. In fact, 4 separate studies show that as much as 84% of the subjects, if they were interviewed, if they were, number one, allowed to talk, and number two, if the interviewer treated them with respect and listened to them, they would talk. Think about that. 84% would talk if we allow them to do it. But an accusatory approach shuts that down immediately. Immediately cuts off that information. So the second flaw, if you are interrupting your subject. Now this is going to go contrary to a lot of been teaching for 50 years, but we are having a problem. It's wrong. If you're interrupting your subject, you stop them from saying no. If you do not allow them to have their point of view, allow a description, congratulations, that is an accusatory interview. You're now running the risk of contaminating and destroying the results of your interview. At the same time, if you accusatory interview is the third problem is contamination, is that we confront the subject with the evidence we have, using it as leverage to stop them from resisting. The concept is to make the subject feel like that their resistance is futile, that the evidence is stacked against them, there's no place to go. But what we have done by presenting the evidence up front is we've contaminated the subject's knowledge base. So now you don't know if the information you're receiving is actually primary knowledge or first-person knowledge the subject has, or what we have filtered to them a little bit later. And all these factors lead into a major problem of coercion. See, because we tell the subject, you did this because so-and-so, you did this because we have that. No, you couldn't have done it because we have this evidence. That is a coercive type of interview and contaminating on its nature. If you are an investigator, and I'm including loss prevention in this because they're having major lawsuit problems with this now, multi-million-dollar lawsuits because they're using coercive, confrontational tactics, shutting the subject down, futility, confront with evidence, not allowing them to talk. That's an accusatory interview. Now, I don't know what it's going to take for people to understand this, and they keep saying, no, it's not because I asked. No. If you are doing those things, if you've already got your mind made up, you're hitting with evidence up front, you're interrupting from saying no, you're using control type questions as opposed to narrative, tell me what happened, show, describe, explain, you are conducting an accusatory confrontational interview and have a high risk of false confession. Stay tuned and look back more at our past episodes. Please connect with Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, as we explore some of these very critical issues involving interrogators and the mistakes we're continually making. Now, also at the same time, if you will, visit my website. We got version 2 of the Pocket Guide, very popular, the Practical Kinetic Interview Interrogation Pocket Guide. New version out, whole section on narrative-based interviews, deception cues, dialogues, body language cues, speech cues, confession signals. Take a look at that and add that as your supplement into your work, into your research. If you go to the link there to look at that, you can also download a free chapter. Take a look at the Pocket Guide and what it can mean for you. If you're interested in hosting classes, I'm working on my current schedules all the time. My dates are limited, so you've got to get in quickly. In-service programs are a lot less expensive than sending people to major programs or per-person cost programs. So look at it for your agency, your intelligence group, military group, or for your loss prevention association or professional group, or for corporate type of programs. Be sure to get on the LIGUI list so I can notify you of upcoming classes and other training programs. And please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Pass this on to other folks. I'm doing my best to try to get this valuable information out to push interviewers to the top of their game. See you again next time when we hit tip number 30. Be safe.